Mike, it's Alex. Could I just give you a little briefing on something under new business
Sure.
on the capital budget?
Capital budget?
That's the item for new business.
Okay, got it. I made a note here. All right, that's on the agenda. So
And I'll move that we approve our agenda, Mike.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor McKay, seconded by who else? Who else could it be? Councillor Yankoff, all those in favor? All those opposed? 2-0. Adoption of the minutes. Minutes of Planning and Heritage Committee meeting on Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. Do I have a mover to adopt these minutes?
I'll move. Yeah.
Moved by Councillor McKay, seconded by Councillor Yankoff. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion. This is arising from the minutes. Like I said, we have two issues to discuss. I've added the capital budget as the third issue under new business. The first issue that we have on the slate is 2 McAleer Drive, proposed antenna system, Bell Mobility Tower. Do you want to introduce and speak to this topic, Alex?
Yeah. So.
Are you on mute, Alex? Hello?
Can you hear me now?
I think Alex is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so sorry about that. So this is an item that came forward back in September. It was a file that Greg Morrison had handled on behalf of Bell Mobility. We're asking for a 30-meter tower at 2 McAleer. We have our own telecommunication policy in regard to what our expectation is from these service providers, where they should be. They looked at our requirements, our standards. They found this property at 2 McAleer. They showed up at the planning committee in September 8th. That they presented, and they had already had a public meeting. And at the public meeting, there was nobody had raised any issues. No issues came from the city at that time, and no issues came from the public. So when we took it to the September planning committee meeting, the council was concerned that the tower was set back fairly close to the roadway, the adjacent roadway there, and Sherwood Road, and that they were concerned that it was too close, and it wasn't not Sherwood Road. I'm off on my
Mount Edward Road.
Mount Edward Road, and that they wondered if it couldn't be set back further, and so staff then said, well, we'll take it back to the applicant. We asked them if they were prepared to set it back further into the property. We had some discussion with them. They didn't think that was going to work for them. They brought it back in October. They gave a few reasons why that they thought it was going to be hard to accommodate it, and at that time, council said, well, okay, fine. We're prepared to make a recommendation to have the tower. We concur with the location at 2 McAleer, but they put in a proviso that they wanted the tower set back 30 meters, at least 30 meters off of Mount Edward Road, and so that the letter was prepared. The council resolution was dealt with in October, and then when they got the Bell Mobility got the resolution that came back from council, they had a problem because if you're going to send that off to it's the old Industry Canada, but it's got a new name. Industry Canada wants to ensure that whatever the direction is of the council is clear. They're either for it or they're against it. So in this case, we said we were for it, but with conditions, and that didn't work. So in your package, Bell has indicated that they tried to work with the applicant or the owner of the property, sorry, to set it back further inside the property to meet the 30 meters, and the owner of the property said that there was operational issues with where they would put it on the property. There was a drainage ditch in one location. They didn't want to put it in another location because it was too close to their their truck bays or things like that. So again, Bell has come back to us and they're asking that council revisit their original decision and contemplate just issuing a straight concurrence that they concur with the location without the, like the condition or the caveat that they want it set back. So I'm just bringing it back. My recollection is at the time it was at the planning committee in the past, the mayor had strong opinions on this, as did the Councillor Cody. Must be Councillor Cody's ward, I'm not sure. But that's where we are. If you wanted to reject it or get the staff to write a letter to Industry Canada, then we would have to find something specifically in our own protocol for telecommunication towers that it was that we could say that it clearly did not meet that criteria. One of the things that I did ask them in order to improve the aesthetic, because this is what this issue is breaking down into, they seem to be meeting all the technical requirements. They're meeting where it should be and the location of the city where it should be. But the one last remaining issue, which is the primary issue on telecommunication towers, is the aesthetic of them. And so I asked them if they could build, instead of a lattice type structure, which is a bigger structure, whether they could do a monopole. And apparently you cannot do a monopole that's 30 meters in height, 100 feet. So basically the application, this is the third time the application is back. Bell is asking that you basically contemplate or consider just telling Industry Canada that you concur with the location, that you're generally okay with it, but if you're not okay with it, you're going to have to be very specific as to what element of our standard, which is kind of akin to the zoning bylaw, that you don't feel that they're satisfying. So that's really teeing it up, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Can I have a clarification?
Yes.
Basically, the last time we talked about this, we went back with the idea of trying to work with them to see if they'd work with us. But at the end of the day, I understood that they really can put the tower anywhere that they kind of want. Is that correct?
Well, it isn't. I mean, Industry Canada's got the final decision, but again, I must admit, in the old days, Industry Canada tended to be very, they used to do what they felt that the industry needed. But what's become very apparent is that this letter's very sensitive, that's coming from the city. So that they're very concerned about, we had conditions on their property. And so if you saw that long letter they wrote as to why they couldn't accommodate the request by council to set it back 30 meters, they're really hoping that they can get this resolved, because I think it's much harder to get now past Industry Canada if the council doesn't concur. But my only caveat to you is that if you are not, if we don't concur, we need to focus in on something in our own regulation. It's not a regulation, it's a policy dealing with telecommunication towers as to what it's offending. And clearly the issue is the aesthetic of it, right? That's what everybody was trying to do. And there wasn't anything wrong in my mind with the request from the previous planning committee if they could have set it back. The problem is it's very hard for us to determine, how hard they worked on that. I mean, they've indicated that the property owner has said that they can't accommodate it. So I'm just the middleman here. But the location where they had it seems to be the one that's working out for both them and working out for the property owner. Your job is to make sure it works out for the community. And I see Alana has a question.
Hey, Lana?
Hi, thank you, Chair Duffy, as well as Manager Mr. Forbes. The only part that I'm still having a hard time with, I understand staff's recommendation to to concur with this. Is there any way that we can go back to them and really discuss the whole aesthetics? Because I think that's where we're going to get buy-in. If we can just come up with some aesthetic solution, and I'm just wondering how hard they tried, and if we can encourage them to, whether they try a little harder, just, this would be a good precedent-setting thing for us to show that, although we agree with it, we are looking for some aesthetically pleasing solutions.
And again, that's always the issue with every telecommunication tower, that you try to put them in a part of the city that they're going to be the least visible, primarily to residents. Like, you don't want in the residential area, you don't want in the downtown either. Industrial park is the right place for it. The previous planning committee thought it was the right property, but it's just to get it off of Mount Edward Road. So they, for whatever reason, like this is the third time that they've been here. Their other problem is that when you open up a consultation period, there's only 90 days or whatever to get it finished from the time of your public meeting, and they're running out of time. That doesn't mean to say, I'm not trying to, it may be that they're going to have to, get an extension on that 90-day period, but they're seemingly running out of time on that original application. Now, I'm not here to debate on their behalf, but I don't think they're here on the line. They're contesting, well, we had our public meeting, and, now that's a public meeting that the city didn't have. They have their own private public meeting. We're invited. Greg Morrison did attend, but no one did show up and object. So they're countering, well, look, when we had our public meeting, we followed your process. Nobody had a concern. And we're just trying to finalize this process, and now there's concerns. So, in response to Councillor Yankoff, the only thing that we could do on the aesthetic is to move it, because it's too big of a tower. If it was a smaller tower, there's different type of a structure. Some of them are like a box with lattice work. They're heavier, bigger. They're like a tower, and a monopole is like a big strong flagpole. It can blend in. Doesn't look as impactful. So I think we're at a bit of a standoff. Right now, it's really either a yes or a no. I think that's what they're looking for. If we give them a no, they'll have to regroup. So it is a bit of a difficult one. And, again, it was Greg's file. I tried to review our own policy on telecommunication towers as closely as I could, and I couldn't find anything that it was standing out in a meaningful way that they were offending.
Alex, can I ask Julie? Julie, you're the only elected person that was around for this. Alan and I are new to the situation, and Jason's gone, and His Worship and
Greg.
Councillor Tweel are out they're out on the slope tonight, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, Julie, back on October the 5th, 2020, that's a year, October the 5th. Months ago. It says on page 1 of 3, there were discussions among members of the committee who felt that this could be an unattractive structure so close to the street, and asked whether the proposed location could be pushed further back in the property away from the street. Well, obviously, from Bell's point of view, the answer to that is no. But back up here, there were discussions among members who felt that this could be an unattractive structure. Who were they, and why? This is an industrial park type of zone. What were the concerns of them? They say.
Alex, you were there. It was Councillor Rivard was the chair, and Philip and Jason and myself, and was it Bob Duran? That was the other planning.
That would have been the committee at that time. I think the concern was when you drove up Mount Edward Road. Because of Mount Edward Road's a pretty busy road, even though it's in an industrial area, it was certainly, instead of hiding the tower, it was sort of bringing the tower closer to where it was visible. And again, I don't think it was necessarily unreasonable to do that. My only other solution would be, in light of the fact all of these people are in Halifax, so they typically don't they don't speak to the planning committee. If it's of any help, and I know that you folks are super busy, but to bring this to some conclusion, it would have been ideal if we could get them on the line to do a WebEx, and then you can speak to them directly if that's helpful. If that's just more, if you know where you're going with it, you go in the direction you so desire. But if that's any help, we could facilitate a WebEx with them. They have a consultant out of Halifax, and I think their head office is in Halifax as well. So I don't know whether that helps you or hinders you. And I see Landis got a question.
Was made on September the 8th, 2020, at a meeting. And then as you relayed to us, then on August, before this meeting, there already had been a public meeting hosted by the applicant, was held on Tuesday, 25th of August at 6 p.m. at the Rod Royalty Hotel, 14 Capron Drive. Besides staff, 3 representatives from Bell and 1 representative from WSP, no residents were at the meeting. So there's no members of the committee there and no members of the residential group there.
I don't recall being invited to that meeting, but I'm also wondering, Alex, is this behind the Baptist church too? Is this, I'm trying to get a look on it on my phone. Is this situated close to the church?
I don't know that area that well. I don't think so. It's a pretty industrial it's a property there. It's in the heart of those industrial lands, but I'm not exactly certain. I'm not a Baptist.
Still by Budget Tire, isn't it, out on Mount Ever Road? Out by Campbell Concrete. I mean,
yeah. If you look at your package, you're going to see where it is. If you go into those Bell. You can see what's around it, McAleer, and you can see it. This is a truck depot that they're placing it on, and there's clearly industrial buildings across the street. But I don't. Outside of that frame, I'm not exactly certain where the Baptist Church is.
Yeah,
the right
I'm seeing it.
on Superior Sanitation Road.
Yeah, I know it is now. I just saw it on the picture. And I think if you want the real truth, I just kind of went with the majority to say send it to council, and that's what we did because I didn't really have a visual of what they were talking about. There was the rest of the committee was fairly insistent that we asked them to move it back instead of the tower being so close to the road. For sure, that's what it was.
And we asked them, and they said no.
They said no initially, and then when we gave the qualified concurrence, they, again, their letter indicates they went back to the property owner. They tried to negotiate the property owner, but again, it's hard to say how hard they really worked. There's no doubt when this tower goes up, I don't know that there's going to be a huge hue and cry, but people are going to indicate that these towers, no matter where they are, they're not attractive. But notwithstanding, maybe another way to look at it, if it's not here, where? Because they need these towers for additional capacity for coverage. So I think all of the previous committee felt that the property, it's in the right industrial area, but they were just hoping to hide it a little bit more. It doesn't seem like that can happen. So that's where we are. And if we want to give a qualified answer, like concur, like we did last time, it's a little tricky unless we can tie it to that they're offending a certain regulation. And and again, I tried to see if they would do a monopole. They had an answer for that as well. So I'm not certain what other things that we have left other than to say yes or no.
And Alex, it was pulled it back 100 meters within the property that they had. Why would they have to ask permission from the property owner if it's their property to move the tower back?
No, it's Bell is leasing that portion of the property for the tower from the property owner who is the transport company.
Okay, so they're just leasing the land.
Right, and they typically all towers are leased on private property. I think they pay. I think it's a pretty handsome little premium they pay to put a tower on your property if you get one on your property.
But McGinnis said that would interfere with their operation if they moved it back to where the general public may like to see. Is that true?
Well, apparently back in the corner of the property, there's a drainage ditch, like way back, and then there's 2 sides to that building. If you can see on both sides of the building on that Bell picture, it's on page 44. You can see where they've got loading bays on the front of the building and on the back, right? So there's clearly a lot of activity on that site. And then if you go to the far corner, which is not even in that picture, apparently it's not there's either it's low down there or swale. I'm not certain. It's in their letter, but again, they seemingly are indicating that they're having trouble securing that site with the property owner.
Okay. All right. What do you ladies want to do?
Can I ask one more question, Councillor? Is there, Alex, is there is there an opportunity to get Bell on the phone to come up with a compromise, or are we just at a standstill?
I think we're at a standstill, but again, you know, I don't think it would hurt. I mean, if you folks are not averse to it, I'll facilitate a WebEx, maybe at lunchtime, get you folks on the phone with them. See, you can ask them a lot more, not aggressively, but why the property owner was so averse to allowing them to go further into the property. And if you telegraph to them, you know, a little bit, you're not going to say we're not going to approve it, but you've got more leverage with them than I do. You're the decision maker, and I want to make sure that you feel that you didn't support something and then it shows up and it's really unattractive, which there's going to be an element of that, but at least you had all the information. So if that's helpful to you, you know, again, they're going to need an answer really quick. So it would be literally today or tomorrow. We could get a WebEx set up and they can get on the line. They have a consultant as well. She's a planner out of Halifax. And again, you know, we could have that conversation as to what little wiggle room that you have. But at least when you took it to council, because your colleagues are going to ask you the same question when this comes up for a resolution at council. Because they're going to see it for the first time, and it's been around 3 times. It's a little bit of a complicated application because it's aesthetically, it's a large tower. Nobody loves them. Nobody says, "Oh, that's a lovely tower," but they are parts of infrastructure that we need to get on our phones, right? So I joke that sometimes people get on their cell phone to me to complain about the tower that they don't want near them, but they want the coverage. They don't want the tower. So the tower is a necessary evil as a part of infrastructure in any municipality. It's just a matter of where's the best place we can get it to handle their servicing needs. And in that area is where they need to be generally. It's not a bad area, an industrial park, but it's, how much wiggle room do they have in regard to mitigating those concerns? They seem to be telling me they're running out of options, but it may be better if you folks ask them that directly. I'll leave that up to you.
And you know what, Alex, McGinnis Brothers, I know a couple of guys who work for McGinnis Brothers. They live pretty well hand to mouth. And if they're getting a lucrative contract to have this tower on their property, and they are saying, no, you can't have it back here, and risk losing that contract, that's not like them. Like, they don't have a hefty balance in their bank account. They didn't anyway the guys I knew.
Yeah, and they may have legitimate concerns, but my job is to answer as effectively as I can all of the questions you're asking, and I don't have all the answers unless they're here. Sometimes you can get a lot more out of them if you ask them the questions than I do. So, and instead of me sort of being the interpreter of what I think that they're where they are, at least you're in a much better position to say, well, after we spoke to them, I didn't like the answer they gave me, as opposed to, like, I'm both I'm the staff person giving a recommendation, and it's sort of either advocating or explaining things on their behalf. So it's always better to have the applicant available. So I throw that out.
And this will go to council anyway. This will have to. I still have to go to council anyway. I'm getting really uncomfortable because I've been sitting up for 3 hours, and I'm just hoping. Can I put a recommendation to Alex that we get them up to see if we can have a chat with them then?
Yep.
Yeah, have a Wednesday at dinner time. Is that good?
Perfect. Let me make sure I don't have any other city council meetings. Wednesday at dinner time is perfect for me.
What time,
Okay.
Alana? What time?
Yep. Wednesday's perfect for me.
At noon?
Yep.
Is that all right with you, Julie?
Hope so. I haven't been at work because my back's out. I'm going back tomorrow, and
Oh, your school's canceled.
but no, I have to be at work. I still have to report to work.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were working from home.
No, I wish.
Alex, for the 12th of 12 o'clock on Wednesday, which would be the 9th.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get them on the line, and I'll facilitate that, and we'll send out a meeting planner.
And Julie, it's no good for you. You just let me or Alex know, please.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Can we move on to number 2 then? Okay.
I think number 2 will be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So number 2 was already to the previous planning committee. Julie may remember we brought it here. It's our building bylaw, our building code bylaw. Before the province, in March of this year, the province brought in a provincial-wide regulations dealing with building across the island. prior to that, municipalities had to have their own building bylaws, and there was a whole bunch of language in there that had to enable that building bylaw. Now that the province has come in with a provincial bylaw and they're a higher level of government, we have to line up with their bylaw. So what it allows us to do is take out a whole lot of things that are now redundant that we previously had in our bylaw, line up with the new bylaw, which we're mandated to do. And as a result, that's why you see those bylaw changes. So there's, it had gone to the planning committee before. We hadn't had it vetted by David Hooley. I said that I would get it vetted by David Hooley. David's looked at it. He's in agreement that we should be ready to go with it. So therefore, it's back. And on this one, I'm pretty confident to tell you that it's, I think this is pretty straightforward. Or I hope it is.
Okay. Okay, folks, questions, concerns, issues? I see it basically as a new building code, and what is not caught, to our liking, what is not caught in the new building code, we have our own little building code bylaw that we can stick those things in to make sure we have direction and guidance down the road when required. Right, Alex?
Yeah, we have to follow everything in the provincial bylaw, but we can exceed their requirements. And so the few things that are in the bylaw there now are exceeding, it's going up more stringent than the provincial requirements. We're allowed to do that. So that's what the bylaw entails.
Exactly. So if the bylaw, to make it simple, it was saying you cannot go any faster than 15 miles an hour, we have the right to lower that even to 10 miles an hour for our purpose.
Correct. Yep.
But not for the city of Charlottetown. You can go 25 miles an hour in the city of Charlotte. No, you cannot take authority you don't have, but you can
Right.
go low.
Right. If they say 20, you can't exceed 20.
You got that right. Okay.
Yep.
Anna, any problems? Any issues? Are you there?
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
you frozen.
she said yes. I can
Yes,
see her. You can't.
yes.
Yeah.
I was saying, yes, so
Frozen. How about you, Julie?
All good.
You'll do anything to get off the couch, won't you?
Freaking right, I need another muscle relaxer.
Okay, is that okay, Alex?
I think we should keep Julie on here because I think the muscle relaxant's kicking in. I could get a big budget increase in another 15 minutes because I'm moving to the budget. I think Julie's prepared to say anything. Alex should get $1 million upgrade. So keep her on, Mike, for 10 more minutes because I'm sure we can get it.
Okay. Do you need a recommendation or a resolution for us, from us, Alex?
Yes, you do. Just that a recommendation to recommend to council to approve the new building bylaw as indicated in the report.
I move.
Okay. Great. Okay. We'll look after that.
I
Okay.
second it.
Pardon?
Alana concurs and she seconded it. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. So we're covered. Let's move out of there and let's go to we had in mind here.
New business?
Yeah, the new business, and it's the capital budget you want to talk about.
Yeah, so Mark sent out to senior staff today that we need to get our capital budgets in by December 21st. I typically don't have any capital budgets because I don't build any roads or anything, but I am going to have to make a request. Of course, you've heard about the automated building permit. We do have money this year, which we're going to tender a contract for the software, but we need to buy from a vendor, likely Esri, additional services in 2021 to get it implemented properly. So that comes in under capital. So I will do up a business case as to why we need that. I will forward it to you folks, and we will have to have one committee meeting before December 21st to deal with that one capital. You folks have to concur that you're in agreement that this is good value for money. And again, I can see Julie there. She's paying, and so I'm thinking she's going to say yes.
Okay, Julie, do you have any input to this?
Absolutely not. I'm glad to see it's finally getting off the ground.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm glad to see that he's going to get this moving. It's good. Wait, awesome.
Alana, how about you?
I'm good too.
I think we're adjourned. Are we adjourned?
Yeah. Say goodnight to Walter.
Walter, moved by Walter, seconded by Alana. that we stand adjourned, okay?
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.